The city was alive with noise and movement. People hurried along the sidewalks, their faces focused on their own lives and worries. Cars honked and street vendors shouted to sell their food. In the middle of this busy scene, an old man sat on a bench near a small park. His clothes were worn and his shoes had holes in them. His hair was white and thin, and his face was full of wrinkles that told stories of many years. He looked tired, but there was a quiet kindness in his eyes. He watched the people passing by, some stopping to smile at children playing nearby. The old man's stomach growled softly. He had not eaten all day. His hands trembled slightly as he held a small piece of paper, worn and folded many times. On it, he had written some words he wanted to say, but he was afraid he might forget. He stood up slowly and walked toward a nearby cafe. The cafe was busy with glass windows shining in the afternoon sun. Inside, people were sitting at tables drinking coffee and talking. The smell of fresh bread and strong coffee filled the air. The old man paused just outside the door, taking a deep breath to calm his nerves. He walked inside, feeling the warmth from the heater and the buzz of conversation around him. The millionaire was sitting at a table near the window, dressed in a sharp suit. He looked at the old man with a small smile, clearly amused by the sight of someone so out of place. The old man approached the table slowly. "Excuse me, sir," the old man said, his voice soft but steady. "Can I play for food?" The millionaire raised an eyebrow and tittered, a small laugh escaping his lips. "Play? What do you mean? Do you play an instrument?" he asked, sounding a little curious but also doubtful. The old man nodded. "Yes, sir. I used to play piano. Long time ago I was a piano master." The millionaire chuckled again. "A piano master? Here in a cafe? You look like you haven't touched a piano in years." The old man smiled gently. "I may look old and tired, but I still know how to play. I just need a chance." People nearby had started to listen. Some looked surprised, others curious. The millionaire leaned back in his chair, clearly enjoying the moment. But something in the old man's eyes made him pause. "All right," the millionaire said finally. "There is a piano at the back of this cafe. If you can show me that you are really a piano master, I will buy you a meal." The old man's face lit up with hope. He thanked the millionaire quietly and walked toward the piano. The instrument was old but still shiny, with keys that had been played many times before. He sat down carefully and placed his hands on the keys. For a moment he closed his eyes, remembering the music that once flowed from his fingers. Then slowly he began to play. At first the notes were soft, like a whisper in the room. But soon the music grew stronger and more beautiful. It filled the cafe with a melody that seemed to tell a story of joy and sadness, of love and loss. The people in the cafe stopped talking and listened. Even the millionaire's smile faded, replaced by surprise and respect. The old man's fingers moved with skill and grace. The years of practice and passion showed in every note. The music was alive, and it brought the old man back to life too, if only for a little while. When the song ended, the room stayed quiet for a moment, as if no one wanted to break the spell. Then one by one, people began to clap. The millionaire stood up and nodded, clearly impressed. "That was beautiful," he said. "You've earned your meal and more." The old man smiled, feeling warmth and gratitude he hadn't felt in a long time. As he sat back down to eat, he realized that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something new. After the music ended, the old man felt a strange mix of relief and excitement. For a long time, no one had truly listened to him or cared about his talent, but now here in this small cafe, people were clapping and smiling. The millionaire, who had doubted him just moments before, was looking at him with new respect. The waiter came over with a warm plate of food and a glass of water. The old man's hands trembled slightly as he reached for the food. It smelled delicious, better than anything he had tasted in many days. He ate slowly, savoring every bite, but he kept glancing back at the piano as if it was calling to him. The millionaire remained standing near the window, watching the old man eat. He felt something he had not expected, and a kind of admiration. It was rare to meet someone who had been through so much and still had so much to give. The millionaire walked over and sat down at the table again. "Tell me," he said quietly, "how did you learn to play like that?" The old man wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and looked up. His eyes grew distant for a moment, as if he was remembering a long time ago. "When I was young," he began, "my family did not have much money, but my father found an old piano in a dusty room. It was broken, but I loved it. Every day after school, I would sit there and practice. I wanted to be the best. Music was my dream. He smiled softly, but there was sadness in his eyes. Life was hard. He continued. I worked many jobs to help my family, but I never stopped playing. I played in small concerts, and sometimes people said I was good. But then things changed. The millionaire listened closely as the old man told his story. He learned how the old man had once played in grand halls and theaters, how people had come to hear him play. But slowly the applause stopped. His family left and he was left alone. His hands, once steady and strong, began to shake. He lost his home and the piano was gone. Music was my life, the old man said quietly. But when everything was taken away, I thought maybe my music was gone too. The millionaire looked down for a moment, thinking about what the old man had said. It was easy to judge someone by their clothes or their age, but behind that was a story full of dreams, loss, and hope. You should not be alone, the millionaire said finally. You still have so much to give. The old man looked up, surprised by the kindness in the millionaire's voice. Thank you, he whispered. I just want to play, to be heard. The millionaire smiled and stood up. I want to help you. Starting tomorrow, you can come here and play whenever you want. I will make sure you are taken care of. The old man's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in many years, he felt seen and valued. The people around them smiled too, as if they knew something beautiful was about to happen. The next day, the old man arrived early at the cafe. The staff greeted him warmly, and the millionaire was there to welcome him. The piano was ready, shining in the morning light. As the old man sat down, his fingers touched the keys gently. The music began to flow again, soft and steady. Customers stopped to listen, some taking out their phones to record the moment. The melody was like a story being told without words, of hope, pain, and the strength to keep going. After his performance, the millionaire approached the old man with a small notebook. Would you like to teach others? There are children nearby who want to learn music, but they cannot afford lessons. The old man nodded slowly, thinking about how music had saved him. I would like that very much. Over the next few weeks, the old man became a regular at the cafe. He played for the customers, his music bringing a peaceful feeling to the busy city streets. More people came to listen, and some even left small tips or kind notes. The millionaire helped spread the word, and soon children began to come to the cafe to learn from the piano master. The old man found joy in teaching. He saw how music could change lives, just as it had changed his own. The children laughed and struggled at first, but with patience and encouragement, they began to play simple songs. One afternoon, a young girl shyly approached the piano. She had never touched the keys before. The old man smiled and showed her how to place her fingers. As she played her first notes, her face lit up with pride. Watching her, the old man remembered himself as a child, full of dreams and hope. It felt like a new beginning, not just for him, but for everyone who heard his music. The millionaire visited often, sometimes sitting quietly in the corner, enjoying the sounds. He saw how the old man's life was changing, no longer lonely but full of connection and purpose. One evening, as the cafe was closing, the old man sat by the piano and looked out the window. The city lights twinkled like stars, and he felt a deep peace inside. He knew the road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in a long time, he believed in the future. He had asked for a chance to play for food, but what he found was so much more. A chance to live again, to share his gift, and to be part of a community that cared. And as the music floated softly into the night, it carried a message for everyone who listened. No matter how hard life gets, there is always hope and a way to start again. The days turned into weeks, and the old man's life slowly began to change. Each morning he would arrive at the cafe with a small bag containing his few belongings. The people there had come to know him, and he was no longer invisible to the world. At first, the children who came to learn music were shy and uncertain. Some had never touched a piano before. Others were curious, watching the old man's fingers move over the keys like magic. The old man was patient with each of them. He did not rush, and he never lost his gentle smile. One afternoon, as the sunlight poured through the cafe windows, a little boy shyly approached the piano. He looked nervous and unsure. The old man patted the bench beside him and motioned for the boy to sit down. Do you want to learn to play? The old man asked softly. The boy nodded, his eyes wide. I don't know if I can. A whispered. The old man laughed gently. Everyone can learn. You just have to try. He showed the boy how to place his fingers on the keys, starting with a simple song. The boy struggled at first, pressing the wrong keys and missing the rhythm. But the old man did not grow impatient. He encouraged the boy, clapping when he got a note right and smiling warmly when the boy smiled back. Watching this, the millionaire often thought about how much the old man had to offer. It was not just his music, but the way he touched people's lives. The old man did not just teach notes and songs, he taught hope and kindness. One day the millionaire asked the old man about his life before the music stopped. The old man hesitated, then began to tell his story again, this time with more detail. I was once a famous piano player, he said quietly. People came from far away to hear me play. I traveled to many cities and countries. Music was everything to me. But then, something happened, he continued. I lost my family. They left because of my mistakes, or maybe because I was too focused on music, I don't know. My hand started to hurt and I couldn't play as well. The people stopped coming. The millionaire listened, feeling the weight of the old man's pain. It must have been hard, he said softly. The old man nodded. It was. I felt lost. Without music, I did not know who I was. But you never gave up, the millionaire said with a smile. No, the old man replied. I still had my music inside me. I just needed a chance to show it again. That chance had come in the form of the cafe, the piano, and the people who now filled the room with laughter and music. The old man's days were no longer empty. He began to teach more than just piano. He shared stories of his travels, of the places he had seen and the people he had met. The children listened, wide-eyed and curious. They asked questions about the cities and the music he played. One day, a young girl asked, "Did you ever feel scared to play in front of so many people?" The old man smiled softly. Yes, I did. Even the best players feel scared sometimes, but when you play from your heart, the fear goes away. His words stayed with the children long after the lesson ended. They began to practice more, not just because they wanted to be good musicians, but because they wanted to share something true and beautiful. Outside the cafe, the city continued its busy rhythm, but inside there was a quiet place where music and stories brought people together. The millionaire decided to help the old man further. He spoke with some local newspapers and community groups, telling them about the piano master who had returned to share his gift. Soon, more people came to the cafe, not just to listen, but to support the old man's work. One evening, the cafe held a small concert. The old man played pieces he had composed long ago, and the crowd was moved by the depth of emotion in the music. Afterward, people came up to thank him, some with tears in their eyes. For the first time in many years, the old man felt a deep sense of belonging. He was no longer just a lonely grandpa playing for food. He was a teacher, a musician, and a friend. As the concert ended, the old man looked out at the crowd. He saw faces of all ages, people who had come to hear his music and share in his story. And he knew that this was only the beginning. The road ahead might still have challenges, but he had found something precious, a reason to keep playing, a reason to keep living. The days following the concert were filled with a new energy. The cafe felt alive in a way it hadn't before. People came not just for coffee or food, but to hear the music and meet the old man who had touched so many hearts. The children who learned piano from him were proud to show their progress, and the old man's smile grew wider with each passing day. One afternoon, as the sun streamed through the large windows, the millionaire approached the old man with an idea. "You have so much to share," he said kindly. "Why not hold regular music lessons here at the cafe? I will help with the space and the equipment. We can even find more children who want to learn." The old man looked at him, a little surprised but hopeful. "I would like that very much," he replied. The millionaire smiled. "I will also try to get some sponsors to help with the cost. Maybe even organize a small music school for the neighborhood." The old man's eyes shone with gratitude. For so long he had dreamed of helping others through music, but life had not given him the chance. Now, it seemed, that dream might come true. They worked together to set up the space in the cafe for lessons. The piano was tuned, and some small keyboards were brought in for the children. Posters were put up in the nearby streets and schools. inviting children to join the free music lessons. Slowly, more children arrived. Some came with their parents, shy and uncertain. Others came with friends, laughing and excited. The old man greeted each one warmly, making sure they felt welcome. The lessons were simple at first. He taught them how to find the notes on the keyboard, how to read music slowly, and how to listen to the sounds they made. He told stories about the music, how it could express feelings that words could not. One little boy loved to tap the rhythm on the piano's side, creating beats that made everyone smile. Another girl had a beautiful voice and sang along as the old man played. The cafe became a place where music was not just played but lived. The old man found joy in teaching. He saw the children's eyes light up when they learned a new song or played a piece all by themselves. It reminded him of when he was a child, full of wonder and hope. Sometimes he felt tired or his hands hurt, but the happiness of the children gave him strength. He knew that music was more than just notes and rhythm. It was a way to heal and connect. The millionaire continued to support the old man and the lessons. He invited friends and business partners to visit the cafe and hear the music. Some even offered to help with funding and equipment. The community began to feel proud of the music school that was growing. One day, a reporter from a local newspaper came to interview the old man. She listened carefully as he told his story. The loss, the loneliness, and the music that never left his heart. She watched the children play and laughed with them as they made mistakes and tried again. The article was published the next week, and soon the cafe was busier than ever. People came from different parts of the city to hear the old man play and to watch the children learn. The music school became a symbol of hope and resilience. The old man felt a deep peace in his heart. He had come so far from the lonely days when he first asked to play for food. Now he was part of something bigger, a family made of music and kindness. One evening after the cafe had closed, the old man sat by the piano alone. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the city outside. He placed his fingers on the keys and began to play a slow, gentle melody. As he played, memories came back. The early days of learning piano, the applause from audiences, the faces of his family, and the long years of silence and pain. But there was also something new, a feeling of hope and love. The music filled the empty room, carrying a message of strength and courage. It was a song for anyone who had lost their way but still dreamed of a better tomorrow. When the last note faded, the old man smiled softly. He knew there were still challenges ahead, but he was ready. He had found his purpose again, and with the help of others, he would continue to share the gift of music. The next day, as the sun rose, the cafe opened once more. Children arrived with eager faces, ready to learn and play. The old man welcomed them with open arms, knowing that together they could create something beautiful. Music was no longer just a memory or a dream. It was alive, growing, healing, and bringing people together. And in the heart of the city, the old piano sang again, telling a story of hope, friendship, and the power of a second chance. The days passed, and the music school grew stronger. The old man had become a teacher, a mentor, and a friend to many children and families in the neighborhood. The cafe was no longer just a place to eat or drink. It had become a home for music and hope. Each morning, the old man arrived early to prepare for the day. He would tune the piano, set up the chairs, and greet the children as they arrived. Some came quietly, still shy and unsure, while others ran in laughing, excited to play their favorite songs. The old man welcomed them all with a warm smile. One afternoon, a boy came in with a small broken guitar. He looked hesitant as he held it close, but he wanted to learn. The old man nodded kindly and said, "Music is music. It does not matter what instrument you play. It matters how you play it." He helped the boy tune the guitar and showed him some simple chords. The boy's fingers fumbled at first, but soon he was strumming gently, a small smile spreading across his face. The old man's heart warmed. Music was bringing more than just notes. It was bringing joy and confidence. Word about the music school spread even further. A local radio station came to do a story. and many more people heard about the old man and his students. Some musicians from the city came to visit and offer help. Donations arrived, new instruments, music books, and even a small stage for performances. The old man was amazed. He had never imagined that from such a simple start, so much good could come. But it wasn't just the gifts or the attention. It was the change in the children and the community that meant the most. One evening, the cafe held its first big recital. The room was full of parents, friends, and neighbors. The children, dressed neatly and holding their instruments, waited nervously behind the curtain. And the old man stood quietly by the side, watching them with pride. When the curtain rose, the music began. The first notes were soft and a little shaky, but as the children played, they grew stronger and more confident. The room filled with the beautiful sound of piano, guitar, and singing. The audience listened with wide eyes and smiling faces. Some wiped away tears as they saw the children's joy and courage. When the last song ended, the applause was loud and long. After the recital, the old man stood on the small stage and looked at the crowd. He spoke softly but clearly. "Music is a gift," he said. "It is a way to share our feelings and dreams. I've been lucky to find music again, and now I see it in these children. They are the future." The crowd cheered and the children beamed with happiness. The old man felt a deep peace in his heart. He had come so far from the lonely days when he asked to play for food. Now he was surrounded by love and hope. Life was not perfect. Some days were hard and his hands still ached sometimes. But he had found a purpose, a family, and a way to give back. The music school had become more than a place to learn. It was a place where dreams could grow. One rainy afternoon, as the old man sat by the window with a cup of tea, a young woman came to visit. She was a teacher at a nearby school and had heard about the music lessons. She wanted to help bring music into her classroom. The old man smiled and welcomed her. They talked about how music could help children learn and feel better. Together, they planned a small program to bring music lessons to the school. Over the next months, the old man traveled to the school once a week. He played the piano while the children sang, clapped, and danced. The classroom was filled with laughter and music. The teacher thanked the old man for sharing his gift. The old man's days were full, but he felt more alive than ever. He had found a way to heal his own heart by helping others. Music was no longer just a memory. It was a living, breathing part of his life. One evening, the millionaire visited the cafe again. He sat quietly, listening to the music and watching the children. After the lessons, he spoke to the old man. "You have changed so much more than just yourself," he said. "You have brought a whole community together." The old man nodded, grateful for the support. "It was never just about me. Music belongs to everyone." The millionaire smiled. "And I am proud to have met you." As the years passed, the music school continued to grow. The children who once struggled now played confidently. Some even dreamed of becoming musicians or teachers themselves. The old man's story was told to many, a story of hope, kindness, and the power of a second chance. In the quiet moments, when the cafe was empty and the city lights shone outside, the old man would sit by the piano and play. His fingers moved gently over the keys, the music carrying his memories, his dreams, and his heart. He knew that life would always have its challenges, but he also knew that music would be there to guide him, to heal him, and to connect him to others. And so, the lonely grandpa who once asked, "Can I play for food?" became a symbol of hope, a piano master who found a way to play not just for food but for life. Time passed, and the old man's music school had become a beloved place in the neighborhood. The children who came to learn were growing in skill and confidence. The old man felt proud to watch them bloom, but he also felt something new. He was starting to think about what the future might hold for him. He knew his days of playing every day might not last forever. His hands sometimes ached more than before, and he found himself resting more often. But the music school was no longer just about him. It was about the children, the community, and the gift of music that connected them all. One morning, the old man sat with the millionaire in the cafe after a busy morning of lessons. They drank warm tea and talked quietly. "I have been thinking," said the old man, "about how to keep the music school going, even when I am not able to teach as much." The millionaire nodded. "That is a good thought. You have built something very special. Maybe it is time to think about who can carry your work forward." The old man smiled. "There are many children who show great talent. Some of them might want to teach one day. They talked about starting a program for older students to learn how to become teachers themselves. This way, the music and the lessons could continue long after the old man was gone. The old man felt hopeful. He had seen how music could change lives. It had changed his own life. And now it was changing so many others. One afternoon, a young boy who had been coming to the school since he was very small played a beautiful piece on the piano. The old man listened carefully. The boy's fingers moved with skill and confidence. "Have you ever thought about teaching?" the old man asked gently. The boy looked surprised but nodded. "Yes, I want to help others learn music like you helped me." The old man smiled. "That is wonderful. I will help you." They began a new journey together. The boy started to learn how to teach, working alongside the old man. He helped with the younger children, showing them the first steps on the piano. Watching this, the old man felt a deep joy. He was passing on his gift, and the music school would live on through the next generation. The community around the cafe also grew stronger. Parents volunteered to help with the lessons and events. Some local businesses offered support, donating food and supplies. The cafe became a center of kindness and creativity. One day, a woman who had once been a student at the music school returned. She had grown up, finished her studies, and was now a music teacher at a nearby school. She came to thank the old man for changing her life. "I will never forget you," she said softly. "You showed me that music is more than just notes. It is hope." The old man's eyes filled with tears. He had never thought his life could touch so many people. As the years passed, the old man continued to teach and play, but he also took time to rest. He spent quiet mornings in the garden, watching the flowers bloom. He enjoyed the company of friends and the laughter of children in the cafe. One winter evening, as snow fell gently outside, the old man sat by the piano with the millionaire. They talked about the journey they had been on together. "It has been a long road," said the old man, "but I am grateful for every step." The millionaire nodded. "You have given so much. Your music has brought light to many lives." The old man smiled. "And it will continue. The music belongs to everyone." In the quiet moments, the old man played his favorite songs. The notes filled the room with warmth and memories. He thought about the lonely days when he first asked, "Can I play for food?" and how far he had come. He knew that life was full of challenges, but also full of kindness and second chances. Music had been his way back to life, and now it was a way forward for so many others. One bright morning, the old man sat with the children, teaching them a new song. Their voices and instruments filled the room with joy. The music was alive, growing and changing with every note. The old man looked around and smiled. He was not alone anymore. He was part of a family built with love, hope, and music. And as the piano played softly in the background, the old man whispered to himself, "Thank you, music. Thank you for bringing me home." The music school had become more than just a place to learn notes and songs. It was a place where people shared their dreams, their struggles, and their joys. The old man watched with a quiet heart as the children grew, not only in skill but in confidence and kindness. One morning, a new family moved into the neighborhood. They were quiet and seemed unsure about the busy city around them. The children were shy, and the parents worried about how they would fit in. The old man saw them sitting alone at the cafe and invited them gently to join the music lessons. At first, the children stayed at the back, hesitant to join. But the old man played a soft melody on the piano, a song full of warmth and welcome. Slowly, the new children began to smile. They moved closer, listening and then joining in with the others. The music became a bridge connecting the new family with the community. The parents thanked the old man for his kindness, and they began to feel at home. The old man realized that music was more than just sound. It was a language that spoke to the heart. It could break down walls and bring people together, no matter where they came from or what they had been through. One afternoon, a young girl came to the cafe, holding a small notebook filled with her drawings and poems. She told the old man that she loved music and wanted to write songs. The old man smiled warmly. "Music is not just playing notes. It is telling a story, sharing your feelings. I will help you." They spent many afternoons together, the old man playing the piano while the girl sang her words. Sometimes the words were happy, sometimes sad, but always true. The music gave her a voice and a way to express herself. The other children listened, inspired by her courage. They began to write their own songs and poems, sharing their stories in the language of music. The old man felt a new joy. The school was growing, not only teaching music but also helping children find their voices. One day the millionaire returned with a surprise. He had arranged for a small music festival to be held at a nearby park. The festival would give the children a chance to perform in front of a larger audience and celebrate the community's love for music. The old man was touched by the gesture but also nervous. Many of the children had never played for so many people. What if they made mistakes? What if they were afraid? The millionaire reassured him. They are ready. They have learned more than just music. They have learned courage. The weeks before the festival were busy and full of excitement. The children practiced their songs and dances, sometimes feeling tired but always encouraged by the old man's gentle guidance. On the day of the festival, the park was filled with people. Families, neighbors, and friends came to listen and celebrate. The children stood on the stage, their hearts pounding but their smiles bright. The old man watched from the side, proud and moved. One by one, the children played their songs, sang their voices, and shared their stories. The audience clapped and cheered, touched by the honesty and beauty of the music. Some wiped tears from their eyes. The festival was more than a show. It was a celebration of hope and community. After the last song, the old man stepped onto the stage. He played a simple melody full of love and gratitude. The crowd listened quietly, feeling the depth of the music. When the last note faded, the applause was loud and warm. The old man looked out at the faces around him and felt a deep peace. That night, as he walked home, the old man thought about how far the journey had come. From a lonely man asking for food to a teacher and friend who had built a family through music. He knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but he also knew that music would always be there, a light in the darkness. The old man smiled to himself and whispered, "Thank you for listening. Thank you for playing." And with that, he continued his path ready to face whatever came next, surrounded by music, friendship, and hope. After the success of the music festival, the old man felt a renewed sense of hope and purpose. The music school had become more than he ever dreamed it could be. But he also knew that the journey was far from over. Life, as it always did, was moving forward, and change was on the horizon. One chilly morning, the old man was sitting at the piano when a young woman walked into the cafe. She had heard about the music school from a friend and wanted to see it for herself. She was shy but curious, and when the old man smiled and invited her to sit, she hesitated but accepted. "I've always loved music," she said softly, "but I never had the chance to learn." The old man nodded. "It's never too late to start." She began attending the lessons, slowly at first, listening and watching the children. The old man showed her the basics on the piano, guiding her hands gently over the keys. She struggled, but she did not give up. The children welcomed her warmly, happy to have a new friend to share the music with. Over time, she grew more confident. Her fingers found the keys and her voice joined in with the songs. The old man was pleased. He saw that music could heal not only the young but the old, the shy and the uncertain. It was a language of the heart, open to anyone willing to listen. One afternoon, the young woman asked the old man if she could help teach the lessons. He agreed happily, knowing that the school would grow stronger with more hands to guide the children. Together, they planned new lessons and even started writing simple songs with the children. The young woman brought fresh energy, and the old man brought wisdom. The music school was becoming a true community. As the months passed, the old man noticed that more adults were coming to the cafe, drawn by the music and the warm spirit. Some came to listen, others to learn, and many to find comfort in the friendly atmosphere. One day, a man who worked nearby came in after a long day. He was tired and stressed but found peace in the piano's gentle sound. The old man invited him to try playing, and the man's fingers trembled as they touched the keys. With patience, the old man taught him simple melodies. The man returned every day, and slowly the music helped ease his worries. Word spread, and more adults began to join the lessons. The music school was no longer just for children. It was a place for everyone. The millionaire continued to support the school, helping to fund new instruments and organize events. He watched with pride as the community grew stronger through music. One spring morning, the old man received a letter. It was from a music teacher in another city who had read about the school and wanted to visit. She hoped to learn from the old man and share ideas to bring music to her own neighborhood. The old man was happy to welcome her. Together, they exchanged stories and plans. The music school was becoming part of something larger, a movement to bring hope and connection through music. As the seasons changed, the old man felt grateful for the journey he had taken. From the lonely days when he first asked to play for food, to now, surrounded by friends, students, and music, his life had been transformed. One evening, as the sun set behind the city, the old man sat by the piano with the young woman and some of the children. They played a song they had written together, a song about hope, friendship, and the power of music. The notes floated through the cafe, warm and bright. The old man closed his eyes and listened, feeling a deep peace. He knew that the music would continue, growing and changing with every new player and every new heart willing to listen. And he smiled, ready for whatever the future would bring. Knowing that music would always be there to guide the way, the music school had become a shining light in the neighborhood. The old man watched with a full heart as more people joined every week. Children, adults, new faces, all coming together to share the love of music. It was more than a school now. It was a family. One afternoon, the old man noticed a boy sitting alone by the window. The boy was quiet with sad eyes that looked far away. The old man went over and sat beside him. "Would you like to play?" he asked gently. The boy nodded but didn't say much. The old man handed him a small drum. The boy tapped softly at first, then louder, as if the drum was speaking for him. The old man smiled. He knew that sometimes music was the only way to tell a story when words were too hard. Over the weeks, the boy came back every day. The old man helped him learn different rhythms, and slowly, the boy's eyes began to shine brighter. Music was healing him in ways no one else could. One evening, the old man held a special class. He asked the children and adults to bring their own stories, happy or sad, and together they would turn those stories into music. A quiet woman shared how she missed her home far away. A young man spoke about his hopes for the future. A girl told of the friends she had lost. Each story was listened to carefully. Then, the old man guided the group to create melodies that matched their feelings. The room filled with sounds of laughter, tears, and hope. The old man watched as the music brought people closer. It was no longer just notes on a page. It was the beating heart of the community. The millionaire came to visit that day, watching with admiration. He saw how the old man's gentle spirit and music had built something truly special. "Your school is a gift," he said quietly. "It is more than I ever imagined." The old man shook his head. "It is a gift from all of us together." One cold winter, the city faced hard times. Jobs were lost and many families struggled. The music school saw fewer children coming through its doors. The old man worried that the joy they had built might fade. But then something amazing happened. The community came together to support the school. Local shops donated food for the cafe. Volunteers offered their time to help with lessons. Parents shared stories of how music was the only thing keeping their children hopeful. The old man felt a deep gratitude. Even in hard times, the music school stood strong because it was built on love and kindness. One morning, a group of children came with a surprise. They had saved money to buy a new piano, a beautiful, shining instrument they wanted to give to the old man and the school. The old man was speechless. He knew this was more than just a gift. It was a symbol of how much the school had touched their lives. He hugged each child warmly and said, "This piano will sing the stories of all of you. Thank you." The music school continued to grow, touching more lives every day. The old man was no longer lonely or forgotten. He was surrounded by people who loved and respected him. As spring arrived, the old man and his students planned a concert in the park. They wanted to share their music with the whole city, a celebration of hope, courage, and togetherness. The day of the concert was bright and warm. Families, friends, and strangers gathered to listen. The children played their hearts out, and the old man's hands moved gracefully over the keys. The music filled the air, carrying stories of joy, struggle, and dreams. The audience clapped and cheered, moved by the honest and beautiful sound. After the concert, the old man looked at the smiling faces around him and felt a deep peace. He knew that the music school was not just about teaching notes. It was about building a community that cared. He whispered to himself, Music is the thread that holds us together. The old man's journey had taken him from loneliness to love, from hunger to hope. And as long as there was music to play, stories to tell, and hearts to touch, his story would never end. The music school had grown into something even the old man had not imagined when he first sat down to play for a little food. It had become a home for many, a place where people found more than just music. They found friendship, hope, and belonging, and yet life continued to move forward, bringing new challenges and opportunities. One day, a letter arrived for the old man. It was from a small music school in a distant town, far from the city's busy streets. The letter spoke of hope and a desire to learn from the old man's school. They wanted advice on how to bring music and joy to children who had little. The old man read the letter several times. He felt a warmth in his chest. The idea of sharing what he had built with others gave him new energy. He decided to write back, offering help and guidance. Over the next few weeks, he spent time writing letters and sending advice. He told stories about the children and adults at his school, about the power of kindness and about the magic of music. Sometimes, he included simple songs written by the children, hoping that these notes could travel and bring light to faraway places. The millionaire heard about the old man's letters and offered to help with sending instruments and books. Together they collected donations and packed boxes filled with pianos, guitars, drums, and sheet music. The old man felt proud. What had started as a small school had become a source of inspiration far beyond the neighborhood. One quiet evening, as the sun set, the old man sat at his piano reflecting on the journey. The room was filled with memories, the laughter of children, the gentle tapping of drum beats, the voices raised in song. He thought about the lonely days when he had no home, no food, and no hope. Music had saved him then, and now, it was saving so many others. But the old man also knew that his time was moving closer to an end. His hands were not as steady as before, and his body grew tired more quickly, yet he felt no fear. He knew the music would live on, carried by those he had taught and by those who loved it. One morning, the young woman who had come to learn later in life arrived with exciting news. She had been accepted into a music program at a university. She wanted to thank the old man for giving her the courage to follow her dreams. The old man smiled. "You have worked hard. Your music will touch many hearts." She promised to return and continue teaching at the school. The old man was happy. He knew the music school was in good hands. The days turned to weeks, and the music school became a place of celebration. The children prepared for a special event, a night of music and stories to honor the old man's journey. The night arrived, and the cafe was filled with people. The room glowed with candles and soft lights. The old man sat at the piano, surrounded by friends, students, and neighbors. One by one, the children played their songs, telling stories of hope, courage, and kindness. The young woman sang a song she had written, her voice full of gratitude. The old man listened quietly, feeling tears in his eyes. He had never imagined that his simple act of playing for food would lead to this, a community bound by music and love. When the last note faded, the room erupted in applause. The old man stood and spoke softly. "Thank you all," he said. "Music saved me when I was lost. It gave me hope and it gave me you. Together we have built something beautiful." The crowd cheered, and many came forward to share their own stories of how the music school had changed their lives. As the night grew late, the old man felt a deep peace. He looked around at the faces filled with joy and hope and knew that the music would continue. He whispered, "This is the gift we give each other, the gift of music, friendship, and hope." And with that, the old man played one last song that night, a simple melody filled with love. The story of the lonely grandpa who once asked, "Can I play for food?" had become a story of kindness, courage, and the power of music to change lives forever. After the heartfelt celebration, the music school felt even more alive than before. The old man watched with quiet joy as more people found their way to the small cafe. The sounds of laughter, the tapping of fingers on piano keys, and the singing of simple songs filled the air. Though the old man's hands were slower now, his spirit remained strong. He spent his days teaching, listening, and sharing stories about the power of music. One morning, a young boy came into the cafe with a small box. He was shy and unsure, but the old man greeted him with a warm smile. "What do you have there?" the old man asked gently. The boy opened the box to reveal a broken violin. "My grandfather gave it to me," he said softly. "But it doesn't work anymore." The old man looked closely at the violin. It was old and worn, but he could see the beauty still hidden inside. "Music lives in this violin," he said. "We will fix it together." With the help of a local craftsman who volunteered at the school, they repaired the violin. The boy returned every day to practice, learning not only how to play but also how to care for the instrument. The violin became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even when things seem broken, they can be made whole again. As weeks passed, the old man noticed a new energy in the school. The children and adults were more confident, more willing to share their stories through music. The young woman who had left for university came back often. She brought new songs, new ideas, and a fresh sense of excitement. One afternoon, she suggested organizing a trip for the students to visit a nearby music museum. The old man agreed, knowing that new experiences would help the children grow. The trip was full of wonder. The children saw instruments from all over the world, listened to recordings of famous musicians, and learned about the history of music. The old man watched the children's eyes light up with curiosity. He knew that music was a bridge, not only between people but between past and future. Back at the cafe, the old man started writing down stories told by the children. Each story was different, some happy, some sad, some full of dreams, but all true. He wanted to create a book of stories and songs to share with others, a way to keep the music alive beyond the walls of the school. The millionaire heard about the idea and offered to help publish the book. He wanted the world to know about the power of music and kindness. The old man felt a deep gratitude. His small school had grown into something far greater than he ever imagined. One day, a young woman came to the cafe. She was a music teacher from another country, traveling to learn how music could help children in need. The old man welcomed her warmly. They spent days talking about music, teaching, and the importance of hope. Before she left, the old man gave her a simple gift, a small notebook filled with songs and stories from the school. "Take this with you," he said. "Let the music travel and bring light wherever you go." The music school continued to flourish. More instruments arrived, more stories were shared, and the community grew stronger. The old man knew that his time was limited, but he felt at peace. The music was in good hands, carried by the children, the young woman, and the many others who had come to love it. One evening as the sun set, the old man sat at the piano with a few close friends. They played a song that had become special to them, a song of friendship, of struggle, and of hope. The music was soft and gentle, carrying the weight of many years but also the light of many dreams. As the last notes faded, the old man smiled and whispered, "Music is the story of our hearts. It never ends." And with that, he closed the piano lid and looked out at the stars, knowing that the music would live on long after he was gone.